For today's project, we will be speaking over the reproductive system. What is a reproductive system? The reproductive system, or general system, is a system of sex organs within an organism which work together for the purpose of sexual reproduction. The female reproductive system is made up of the internal and external sex organs that function in reproduction of a new offspring. The male reproductive system is a term used to collectively refer to the organs that work together to allow for the reproductive function of the male organism. However, both systems work differently, and within the next couple of slides we'll be breaking down the major differences between both of these and their functions. For this slide, we'll be speaking about the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system is a grouping of organs that make up a man's reproductive and urinary systems. These organs do the following jobs within your body. They produce, maintain, and transport sperm and semen. They discharge sperm into the female reproductive tract. It is common to get semen and sperm mixed up. However, although some believe both words serve the same purpose, they detail a different thing. The main difference between sperm and semen is that sperm is only the cellular component of the semen, whereas semen is a liquid carrier of the sperms. Sperms are microscopic cells with haploid nucleus. They carry the genetic information of males to the egg cell of the female. What makes up the system and their functions? For the first one, we're all going over the penis. It contains tissue that fills with blood during sexual arousal, making the penis erect. Semen is a mixture of sperm and fluid from the male reproductive organs. It exits the penis through the urethra and during ejaculation. Testicles. Small oval sex glands located in a skin sac called the scrotum. Sperm and sex hormones are made by the testicles. Keeping the testicles outside of the body means they have a lower temperature, which is important for sperm production. The epididymis, or epididymis, a series of small tubes attached to the back of each testicle. The epididymis collects and stores sperm. The vas deferens. The epididymis eventually becomes the vas deferens, a larger tube that transports sperm to the urethra, a urinary passage from the bladder, and the accessory sex glands, including the prostate gland, seminal vesicles, and the bulbourial glands. These glands contribute nourishing fluid to the sperm. For the series of sexual questions, how do the components of semen play a role in the viability of sperm? Sulfate chemicals in semen help prevent the sperm from swelling, and fructose is the main nutrient to sperm cells. What are the two chief functions of the male reproductive system? To produce, maintain, and transport sperm and protective fluid, and as well to discharge the sperm into the female reproductive tract during sex.
Now I will be talking about the female reproductive system and the structures and functions. First, the external structures. These include the labia majora, or large lips, that protect other external reproductive structures, the labia minora, which is located inside the labia majora and surrounds the vaginal opening, urethral opening, and the clitoris, and Bartholin's glands, which are located next to the vaginal opening and produce mucus secretions. Sex, to serve as a birthing canal and as a passage for menstrual blood out of the body. The uterus is divided into two parts, the cervix and the corpus. The cervix is lower and opens to the vagina, and its function is to allow sperm to enter and menstrual blood to exit. The corpus is the part of the uterus which would house a developing fetus. The corpus has the ability to expand. Ovaries are small oval-shaped glands located on either side of the uterus. They produce eggs and hormones. Their main function is to release eggs. Once a month, a mature egg is released from the ovaries. The hormones produced include progesterone and estrogen. The fallopian tubes are narrow tubes attached to the upper part of the uterus. The tubes serve as a pathway for the ova or egg cells to go from the ovaries to the uterus. This is also where fertilization normally occurs. Now I will discuss the main functions of the female reproductive system. One of the main functions is to produce ova or egg cells to be fertilized. The other main function of the female reproductive system is to prepare the woman's body to nourish a developing embryo. Now I will talk about the hormones in the ovarian cycle and how it affects menstruation. The pituitary gland releases FSH and LH, which stimulate the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone. When the estrogen and progesterone levels drop, the menstrual cycle begins. During this cycle, the top layers of the uterus lining, the endometrium, break down and shed. This leads to menstrual bleeding. Now I will explain what happens from fertilization to implantation. Fertilization is when the sperm and egg unite to form a zygote. After fertilization occurs, the zygote travels down the fallopian tube and goes through mitosis. About 3 days after fertilization, the embryo contains about 12 to 16 cells and is called a morula. 5 days after fertilization, the blastocyst is formed. The blastocyst then begins to hatch out of the protective zona pellucida. After it begins hatching, implantation begins. What are the functions of the placenta? The placenta is a network between the mother and the fetus. Functions of the placenta include gas exchange, metabolic transfer, hormone secretion, and fetal protection. It metabolizes a number of substances and can release metabolic products into maternal and/or fetal circulations. The placenta allows blood from the mother and fetus to exchange substances without actually mixing. What are the 3 main events that occur during embryonic development? 3 major events occur during the embryonic stage, including implantation, the division of germ cells, and organogenesis. Implantation is the burrowing of the embryo into the mother's uterus. The 3 germ layers are the endoderm, the ectoderm, and the mesoderm. Cells in each germ layer differentiate into tissue and embryonic organs. Organogenesis is the development of the organs that begins during the 3rd to 8th week and continues until birth. Sometimes full development, as in the lungs, continues after birth. Different organs take part in the development of many organs systems in the body. What are some major events that occur during fetal development? Well, this is when organ development begins, lasting approximately 6 weeks. At 5 weeks, the baby's heart begins to beat, generally at about twice the rate of an adult heart. Next, at 6 weeks, facial features begin to form, and the little buds for the arms and legs start to develop. At 10 weeks, the embryo officially becomes a fetus. Now the baby's brain, spinal cord, and heart begins to develop. Baby's gastrointestinal tract starts to form.
Now we will be speaking over some diseases and disorders in the reproductive system. The epididymis, an inflammation of the epididymis, an inflammation of the epididymis, most commonly caused by bacterial infection, including sexually transmitted infections, STIs, or sexually transmitted infections, STIs, usually treated with antibiotics. Erectile dysfunction. The inability to get and keep an erection firm enough for sex can be caused by both physical and psychological issues. Psychological issues. May be a sign of underlying health condition. There are various treatment options depending on what is causing it. Prostate cancer. Cancer that occurs in the prostate, a small walnut-shaped gland. Symptoms include trouble urinating, blood in urine, blood in semen, erectile dysfunction. It is not clear what causes prostate cancer, but risk factors include older age, family history, and obesity. Treatment depends on several factors, including how fast the cancer is growing and whether it has spread, and treatments can include removing the prostate, radiation therapy, and hormone therapy. For women, some reproductive system disorders and diseases. The most common will be endometriosis, an often painful disorder where tissue similar to the tissue that normally lines your uterus grows outside the uterus. Causes include retrograde menstruation, surgical scar implantation, and many more. Treatment can include pain medication and therapy. Now, what other body systems does the reproductive system connect to? One of the body systems is the circulatory system, which is the system that circulates blood and lymph through the body, consisting of the heart, blood vessels, blood, lymph, and the lymphatic vessels and glands. However, how does the circulatory system play a direct role in reproduction? The blood actually transports hormones involved in reproduction. Another one will be the endocrine system, which chemically controls the various functions of cells, tissues, and organs through secretion of hormones. However, how does the endocrine system play a direct role in reproduction? The endocrine glands release hormones into the bloodstream, and which helps it travel to the cells and other parts of the body.